Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you a very popular print-on-demand design style that has multiple best-selling examples on Etsy, and I'll take you through the steps of creating your own version using Canva and Printify. Let's jump in. So here we are on Etsy, and the design style we're looking at today is a front and back print t-shirt. So here's an example of that is really popular right now. It's in 20 plus baskets. It's a boho Christian themed shirt, and as you can see, it has a large floral print on the back with a biblical quote, and then on the front there is a floral design as well, but just a smaller version that is placed in the upper left corner or the pocket area of the t-shirt. There is so many different niches and design ideas that you can apply to this idea, but this front and back print is really popular right now on Etsy. Here's another example, one that is text-based, and it's themed around the let them philosophy, where essentially if people want to do or say what they want to do and say, you should just let them without trying to change them, because essentially it's a losing battle. So, and then on the back it kind of goes into that. It says let them misunderstand you, judge you, etc., and just keep shining regardless. So this one is in demand right now as well. So a nice text-based take on this idea. Here's another one that is kind of a inspirational mental health type thing. Just says you're doing great on the back with a simple smiley face on the front. And I will say you should probably avoid any smiley face designs, because I think that is essentially trademarked. But just another example of something that is very much in demand right now. It's in 10 baskets. Here's another example, no rest for the women. We have this really cool design on the back. And then again on the front left side of the shirt in the pocket area is a smaller version of the design. This is in 6 baskets right now, letting us know that's in demand. Here is a kind of floral boho version of that with the kind of abstract flower print on the back, and then a smaller version of that on the front. Here's another one that is in 9 baskets right now. It's a kind of biker rock and roll themed one that says pick your poison on the back. And then again on the front, we have just a smaller version of the entire design on the front left corner of the shirt. This one is a kind of summery theme, so I thought I'd show that to you today as we're entering into the summer. It has a bunch of watercolor illustrations of different ice creams on the back, and then a little ice cream party icon on the front with just the text and a few of the ice cream treats. And lastly, we'll look at one that is in demand right now as well. It's in 7 baskets, and it's another no rest for the women design. So kind of a cool black letter font design on the back. And then on the front, a smaller version of the same design. So now that you have a sense of what we're looking at today, we're going to show you how to make your own version of this using Canva to make the design, and then Printify as our print production partner. And I'll show you how to place the design properly in Printify. So let's head on over to Canva now and get started on the design. Okay, so here we are on Canva. I've created a new document at 4500 by 5200 pixels, just because the t-shirt we're going to be printing on Printify, this is approximately the size of the design area we're going to be using. For our design, I thought we'd run with the floral positive message kindness theme for our tee. So what we're going to start with is we're going to head over to the Elements tab here, and we're going to type in abstract flower and see what comes up. And I always have to note that I do have the paid version of Canva, so I'm going to have access to a lot of the premium or pro elements. I highly recommend getting a pro Canva account if you really want to get serious about designing for print on demand. But that being said, there are a lot of options for free elements as well that could be great for making tees as well. So just keep that in mind. I am going to be using some pro elements. So what I'm wanting to do is create a kind of fun abstract floral design with the words "Let Kindness Bloom" as our theme. So I'm going to start just picking out some flowers that I really like, starting with this beautiful green one, and just kind of plopping them into the design for now, and then we'll start kind of moving them around. I really like that one. This nice bright pink one. Let's see, I like this guy here. This. I like this kind of blobby tulip shape here as well. Size that down a bit. It's kind of one with the long petals. I quite like that. And we're just kind of scrolling through and just picking any of these abstract flowers that I like the look of. And that's quite nice too. Put that up here, tilt it a bit. I like this green one as well. So we want it to be quite just colorful and fun. It's a very positive message on this t-shirt, so we're going to keep it in that theme. And yeah, I think that looks like a good amount of flowers to start with. So now we're just going to move the elements around until we get a nice, pleasing arrangement here. And a good tip for when you're creating a kind of collage style design like this is to not have every element be the same size. We want a nice variance in sizes. So one or two kind of larger sized ones. I like this blue flower a lot, so I think I'll keep this at kind of a large size. Same with this pink, these two pink flowers here. I like them being kind of big. So that means for some of the other ones, we're going to size them down a little bit. Maybe get this guy even smaller. I think I'll move him as well because there was a lot of yellow going on right there. I'm going to size down this pink one a little bit. Maybe I'll grab a couple more flowers. I like this kind of neutral orange one. Pull that one in. Place her there. Let's see. Oh, I like the color of this green one. Pull that in, and we're going to make that quite small. This one I think I will change the orientation of to make it vertical. And I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to also pull this one down. So we have a matching baseline for some of them. And we also want to create a kind of border that a few of the elements are touching to give it this kind of rectangular impression. Even though it's a collage of different items, we can create a shape still using all of them. So I'm going to start moving these around. Might size this little green one up a little bit and drag it over. I might flip this guy a little bit so he sits nicely in this space. Might size up this green one a little bit more, move it down, and then yeah, I think I want to bring in a few more flowers. This one's really cute, and I'm going to size that one quite small and just start filling in some of our blank spaces. I like this pink one here. Size her down really small. Put it there. And we just need one or two more elements. Let's do, this one's kind of cute, this sort of half flower look. Okay, so I'm liking the looks of this. I'm realizing I haven't left a ton of room at the top for my text. Let's go ahead and add that to the design so then we can start really figuring out our final composition. So I've just added a heading here. I'm going to size that up and drag it up to the top here. And what I want it to say is, let kindness bloom. And I want it to be all on one line, so I'm just going to drag out the bounding box here and size that down a little bit. I definitely don't want to use this text, especially because I am doing this in all caps. Certain fonts look terrible in all caps like this one. So we're going to be changing that. And I like this Avalon caps one here. That one's in the handwriting section. So we're going to choose that. And it has this really nice kind of casual handwritten look to it. So I'm going to size that up quite a bit to kind of fall in line with the edges of that rectangle we've created, that kind of casual rectangle. So let's get that aligned on both sides here. Thinking that looks pretty good actually. So we'll make sure it's centered. And there we go, that looks pretty cute. I was thinking of maybe adding an arch to the text, but I think I kind of like it straight like this. What I do want to do is change the color of the text to match more closely the kind of colorful floral themed we have here. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to come to the color. And as you can see, it has all of our document colors here. I kind of am drawn to this bright fuchsia pink here. So that already looks so much better with it not as a black font. So I'm pretty happy with that design. And this is going to be the back design for our t-shirt. So now what I'm going to do is add a new page to our document, and we're going to create the front pocket design. And what I'm going to do is take this text, I'm going to hit Command C, come down to our page 2 and hit Command V, and that just copies it to our new page. And what we're going to do is take just one element from this design and use it on our front pocket design. I kind of like this little sort of slightly neutral green daisy here. So I'm going to click on that, hit Command C and Command V, and paste it into our new page. I'm going to size it up quite a bit and center it. And then with this text now, I am going to create a curve this time because I want this kind of circular design for the front pocket. So I'm going to come up to Effects and then down to Shape. I'm going to click on Curve, and I want it to be quite a significant curve, so somewhere around the 70 area looks good. I'm going to size that up a bit by dragging on the corners of the bounding box. And then I think I want to take the size of our flower down quite a bit in relation to the text. Maybe even a little bit smaller than that. And then center it again. And then I do want to add more of a curve to our text. So I'm going to come back to the effects and go down to the curve again, and then I'm going to quite dramatically increase that curve level. I think that looks good. And again, I'm going to play around with the size of our flower here. And I'm thinking that looks pretty cute. What I might want to do is sometimes when you use a curve on certain fonts, it makes the letters look kind of crowded. So I'm going to increase the space between the letters. And I do that by coming up here to spacing, clicking on that, and then upping the spacing in the letters. I think something even just sort of like 15 is good. That just gives the text a little bit more breathing room. And then what I want to do is, this color of text worked well with the back design, but because we're not using that kind of fuchsia flower for the front, I'm going to change the text to match that little dot in the center of the green flower instead. And so we do that by clicking on the text color icon, and then I believe this orange here is the correct color to match that little inside part of the flower. So now that I'm happy with that, I'm going to select both of those items and I'm going to size up a bit and then just kind of center the entire design. Okay, so that's going to be our design for the front pocket. Now what we're going to do is, let's name our file. Let's call it front and back T. Okay, so next what we want to do is download our files with a transparent background, and then we're going to head over to Printify and place the designs on our t-shirt. So to do that, we come up to Share, to Download, and we want to download both pages. We want it as a PNG, and we want to choose transparent background. So we'll click that, and then we'll hit download. And once that's downloaded, we'll head over to Printify to take you through the next part of the process. Here we are on Printify, and we're going to use a t-shirt for our design. You can also use sweatshirts, obviously, for this design style, but we're just going to be doing t-shirts today. And I think you can use most of these different types of t-shirts for this design idea, but we're going to be using comfort colors today. So I'm choosing that, and then I'm going to head down to Start Designing. That brings us into the Printify design interface. And as you can see down at the bottom here, you have options for the front side or the back side. So we're going to start by adding our design to the back side first. So I'm going to click on that, and then we're going to bring in our design that we just made, the back version. So I'm going to just drag that in from my download folder, and boom, there you can see it has showed up on the back side of our t-shirt here. And because we had the file size matching the Printify specified design size, it sits quite nicely within the bounding box here. You can always make it a bit larger if you want, and it still fits in the dotted lines. I tend to like my designs quite large, so often I will size them up as big as they will go and still fit in the bounding box here, but that's looking pretty good. And now let's add our front side design. So we'll click on the front side. That brings us back to the front side of the t-shirt, and we'll bring in our front design. Okay, so there it is. And obviously we don't want it this big. We don't want it in the center. We want it in the upper left corner. So we're going to size that down quite a bit. And generally we don't want it aligned with that edge of the bounding box. We want to move it in a little bit closer towards the center. And a good guideline is you want it sort of in line with the edge of the collar here. So I'll move that back over just a little bit. And then what I like to do at this point is use the preview option, so I get a really good sense of how this is going to look in terms of placement on an actual real t-shirt. So we'll head over to preview now and have a look at that placement and see if we're liking it. There it is on a folded shirt. I like to see how it looks on an actual person. I'm thinking that's a bit far over, so I'm actually going to come back and bring it back towards the center a little bit more. I think the size looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit bigger. Let's make it a tiny bit bigger. And that's really up to you and what you think looks best for each design. But let's have a look at that again. I think that's looking a little bit better. Yeah, it's close enough to the center to be legible, but not so much so that it's too centered. So I think I like that. We'll go back to edit now though. And what you can do now is choose color variants. I made this design to be printed on light colored shirts, and that's something you should always keep in mind when you're designing. Is this design going to be printed on light colored shirts or dark colored shirts? Because that's going to change the type of elements you choose, the color of text for your font that you're going to choose, so always keep that in mind. So this is definitely for a light colored shirt, so white's going to be great. I want to choose ivory here as well. I think it would look good on banana. I think bay might be a little too green, especially for that front design. I think chambray could be good. And maybe blossom. Let's see how that looks on the back side as well. And then we can go through and see how it looks for each color that you've chosen. I think it looks pretty good on all the ones we decided upon here. I think maybe the blossom, some of the elements get a little bit lost, so I might go ahead and deselect blossom and just have it available in these 4 colors. I'll do the same thing. We'll go through and we'll see how it looks for each color for the front design, and I am very happy with that. So that being said, again, we'll just head to preview and run through how it looks on an actual real t-shirt for each color. I think that looks pretty good. Do the same thing for the back. It's looking pretty good on white, on ivory, on banana, and on chambray. So I'm pretty happy with how that's looking on all of those colors. So that means we can move on to hit Save Product now. And we can choose our mockups from the mockup library. I generally don't use any of the Printify mockups. No offense to the Printify mockup library, but it is much better to find high quality mockups right there on Etsy. There's tons of really great mockups for all the different t-shirt brands. Highly recommend spending some time and money doing that, because these ready-made Printify ones aren't going to make your store look professional or stand out in any ways. So what I end up doing is I end up deleting pretty much all of the selected mockups except for one, because you have to have one as a kind of placeholder. So then I'll hit Save Selection. That brings us to our next page, and here is where you would enter the title of your listing, and you would want to come up with a really SEO friendly title. You'll have to do your own research for that. That's a whole other video, but you would fill in the title, the description, you would add your tags, you would choose your shipping method, and do your pricing here as well, making sure that you have a nice profit margin. And something to keep in mind is when you're making t-shirts, if you have the print on one side only, that's a little bit cheaper than doing both sides. So you want to keep that in mind for your pricing. For doing a front and back print, it's going to have to be a little bit more expensive than a one-sided t-shirt print. So keep that in mind. And then you would just go through all of these details, make sure everything is set the way you want it to be, and then you would hit publish. And that is essentially it for this tutorial. I hope this was helpful for you to make your own version of this very popular design idea of front and back print t-shirts. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, any upcoming videos you would like to see. Let me know if you're planning to make one of these front and back print tees. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.